Frozen 2, sequel to the Disney smash hit, which for many long months dominated households of families with little girls, mainly with the popular song Let It Go. So the sequel takes place 3 years after the original film, and much like its protagonists, it has grown up in as much as it's way darker and potentially more scary than the original. In fact, I had coworkers tell me that they went to see it back in November with their daughters who were fans of the first one, and they were terrified at some points. In terms of the story, we open with a flashback to the early childhood of Elsa and Anna, and their parents telling them a story about an enchanted forest housing an elemental magic that was mysteriously, the forest I mean, was mysteriously sealed off years ago by impenetrable mists. Back in the present day, it is now autumn, and the kingdom is doing perfectly fine under the rule of Elsa, with Kristoff getting ready to finally propose to Anna. However, Elsa starts hearing weird calling from the north, like some sort of magical voice calling out to her. Then there are weird things happening in town, like wind sweeping the streets and fires just going out for no reason. Elsa concludes that this has something to do with the elemental magic, and the whole crew goes on an adventure north to investigate the forest, find out what really happened all those years back, and try to save the future by knowing the past. So, by this setup, or rather a more detailed version of the setup that the movie actually gives the audience, it seems like the film will transition more towards teenage fantasy adventure kind of story. We've got elemental magic, spirits, earth giants, people trapped in the mists for years. There's a lot of really cool elements in here, but I'm afraid they aren't really used very well. It just seems like whoever wrote the film came up with brilliant rough ideas and had no clue how to connect them into a coherent whole, and the result is pretty messy. The main sort of plot, which of course hinges on a twist, is predictable literally within 5 minutes from the beginning of the film, and every single other element seems completely underdeveloped. The whole proposal subplot is reduced to comic relief and a plot device to keep Kristoff separated from Anna, and therefore fairly useless when things get serious. The elemental magic doesn't really go anywhere. The somewhat promising backstory to Elsa's parents is just basically one additional fact that carries almost no repercussions later on. Worst of all, though, the whole point of the first Frozen, the entire lesson learned in that film, was to not shut off your loved ones, to trust them and let them be with you and help you and support you. And now we get to the second act of this film, and Elsa and Anna realize that they need to do something dangerous. And guess what? Elsa says, listen, I need to do this by myself, and forcibly pushes Anna away. What is this? Did we learn nothing? What was the point of the first film then? Where's the character development? It's gone. It sucks because on this shaky and hole-ridden foundation, the filmmakers have still managed to build something interesting, something that sort of works because of the technical execution. What I mean by that is the voice acting and songs, which I'd say are better than previously, and the cinematography. Seriously, there are shots in this film which are stunning, and mind this, usually when I say that about animated movies, I gush about the technical achievement that something manages to look this good. But here what I mean is cinematography in the more classical sense, the frame composition, the color work, the way the camera behaves and moves, and the way characters and scenery are positioned in a shot. That's just super impressive, and there are individual moments where I went, wow, this is brilliant. You could screenshot this and have it as a wallpaper. But then at the end of the day, while it manages to be pretty, it still rings quite hollow. Despite how good it looks, I cannot forgive Frozen 2 for how disappointing it is in terms of the story and the world building. It gives itself all of the tools it needed to be great, and then it proceeds to briefly look at each of those tools just for a second and just put them away. And that, I'm sorry, but that in my eyes reduces it to a pretty average and forgettable film overall.